Do you want it?
Then I'll take this one. I'll take this one. So that's promising.
So I should take that
Gotta come get this before you take it off. Yeah, exactly. I'm standing
Good
guard.
morning, Council. Council Lord.
So are you over here conveniently standing by the coffee
I
where I
am.
wanted to be?
And there you are. And I'm going right next door now and getting ice. And let me just cross over in here and get this crossing so I know that I scoped out. Unless you want it. You can follow it.
Cream always ends up on my shirt.
Still crazy?
That's how the song goes. Sorry if I beat you to whatever way you wanted that.
You can't drink all that.
Watch me. Used to be that I could and would, but I can't drink it like
But you can sit wherever you like.
You do a better job than I do finding.
Wherever you want. Because there's probably electric over there that you need. Sit wherever you want. You can sit right here.
They had these buffalo trays, and they had the red bottle. Yeah, I know. If you're really bottle, I don't break it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do the same way. Right now I have I like it. Anytime you see it, count me. Yeah, and I'm gonna start looking. No, never, multiple choices, 10 choices that way.
Now,
Do we have another?
oh, you got them? Use my
Well, we should.
Oh, it is. Hey, Sean, I had to move this camera for a minute. Thank you.
I know, but if that's what we
Oh, that's fine. I needed to move it anyway.
It wasn't fast. It has the nice borders. But what I'm saying is that they almost the appearance also. The price of stuff here. Yes. But back then, without. But I tell you, I'm almost gonna plan
Suck it out of the bottle, and they make it his own bottle.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
He gave me the bottle.
All right, everybody, we're going to get started here in a moment. We're waiting for our video tech folks to come back in the room. When he comes back in and we start the live streaming, then we'll get on the record. So just give us another minute. Sean, just give me the thumbs up when it's rolling live. Oh, we're good? Possibly. Madam Chair, I think we're ready. Good morning, everybody. The time is approximately 9:01 a.m. We're going to call to order the Grand Haven Community Development District Board of Supervisors meeting. Today is Thursday, July 16, 2026. We're going to go around the room. We're going to do roll call. We'll start with Jay King down on the right over there, and we'll just work our way around.
Jay King of Boston.
John Lukansky, Besta.
Vanessa Stepniak, Director of Operations.
Scott Clark, District Council.
Howard Gaffney, District Manager.
Meryl Stetziser, Supervisor.
Kevin Foley, Supervisor.
Kathy Meyer, Supervisor.
And Janet Greenwood, Supervisor.
I think we need to see if I don't know if Ray, or not Ray, but if Richard was going to call in. So if he does, I'll start up a Zoom form or I'll put him on my phone. But with that, Madam Chair, we do have a quorum. We can proceed with the meeting if you'd like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll start off with audience comments, and if you have an audience comment, you just raise your hand, the chair will call on you, you'll come to the podium. John, will you make sure the microphone's on for us over there? And then announce your name for the record. And we are live streaming the meeting. Today is our official launch of our new tech. And we have Mr. Sean Luttrell and his company. He's in the back room. Everybody say hey to Sean. Hey, Sean. Sean is live streaming this on YouTube. So going forward, Grand Haven's meetings will be live streamed and the recordings will live as long as we can in perpetuity, I would imagine, on YouTube. So with that, are there any public comments in the chair can call?
Please.
Denise Gallo, 49 Front Street. I have an idea for Parcel K that I think will benefit all the residents. This room is used for special events, and when that happens, a lonely person like myself or any other person who wants to go to the cafe never can find a parking space because this room is being used for the event. If we built a 1- or 2-story event meeting room with, of course, bathroom facilities and a kitchen, then special events could be held there on a Saturday or Sunday evening because that parking lot is completely empty on the weekends. The golf course, maybe 4 or 5 weekends a year, utilize that parking lot for an event. Normally at 4 o'clock, everything closes up tight as anything there in the golf course. So that lot is empty. Where if you had a building and you were using the special events there, then all the parking would be there and people who still wanted to go to the cafe here would have some place to park.
Thank you.
I love it.
Mac, why don't we put Parcel K on one of our upcoming agendas, okay? We will, and I think probably to give it full exposure, let's go ahead and see what it potentially could be selling for. And then at the end of the meeting, let's break out and the supervisors will go over there and so that they can see what really Parcel K constitutes and how the golf course interacts with it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. More comments? Yes, Donna.
Good morning, Donna McGovern, representing our residents' comments. Our resident wrote to me and said, if you happen to be attending this month's CDD meeting, a question for them is, if it's possible, has MetroNet made any requests on them to provide enhanced fiber optics to Grand Haven? Or has Spectrum made a similar offer to enhance our services? And I wrote back that I'll be attending the meeting and I'm unaware of this. Do you have any arrangements with anything? Apparently Spectrum was out and we don't have good fiber optic here in Grand Haven. But I'm representing 2 residents today.
Vanessa, would you like to comment?
I have contact, is this on?
Yeah. We got an extra mic, so I'm going to give you mine, and I'll take Supervisor Mayer's.
I have reached out to MetroNet and AT&T because they already have fiber in Palm Coast. So I'm on a list that we're supposed to be notified when we can get service to the village center. Currently, AT&T will provide it to Creekside, but not the village center, and MetroNet is not available at all.
I do know my access because I'm a lead for Grand Haven.
Donna.
16.
Donna.
I'm sorry. Oh, am I back on?
Is that working?
Well, my voice can carry, trust me, I don't need a mic, but if you want me to use a mic, I can.
We need it for recording.
Okay, because I'm a lead, I have access to 16,732 residents, and I know that Verizon is not good all over up coast. So Verizon, I know, is not an option. So I will get back to the resident. Okay, Mac and I walked in together this morning, and I know that residents have written to me about the fish kill in Pond 1. And I'm also a graduate of the all the academies that Flagler County has to offer. And I addressed the board several years ago with regards to me meeting with St. John's Water District from the county academy that I attended, and Mac was not our district manager at the time. We do need the fountains going in the ponds, and St. John's Water District told me that directly. They told me that the bubblers was not giving enough movement in the water, and I addressed the district, I addressed all of the CDD, and I addressed Barry at the time. So I don't know if that's going to help this problem or not, and I know the CDD with Mac leading it, that also can help us. But I do know you're aware of the fish kill, but I got a lot of phone calls about it, and I got a lot of texting about it. So that's something that I know you're aware of. So I just want you to know the residents are unhappy about another fish kill. And I know last time the fish kill cost us a lot of money. I think it was Pond 32 last time. I could be wrong on the number. But I do know that St. John's Water District said it must have fountains. And I do know that Hammock Dunes is not having this problem. And I do know Plantation is not having problems with any fish kill. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Donna. I will let you know, Donna, that one of the reasons Grand Haven does not have fountains is because Grand Haven was sued by a resident for having a fountain.
Yes.
Any
and
more
I
questions?
I was living here at the time, and that's only one resident, and they lived here less than, I think it was less than 2 years. He bought the house on a pond, knowing that there was a fountain at the time.
Well,
But that he doesn't live here anymore, and it's affecting like
yes.
4,208 residents, and I think we need to get past that. That's my own personal opinion.
You'll pay the lawyer fees? Any more questions? Peter?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Peter Gordon. I live at 21 Augusta Trail. I spoke here at the last meeting introducing myself as the new president of the Grand Haven Croquet Club, and as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I appreciate that croquet can be a polarizing topic in this community. In fact, later in that meeting, Dr. Merrill, when I was speaking, and she noted that croquet does have a negative perception in the community, and I thought about this for a while, and I've traced that to two sources, really. For many years, it was required that you wear white on the court, and for the rest of the community, I think there was a sense of elitism and perhaps exclusivity that came with the wearing of white on the court. That is no longer a requirement in our club. In fact, I'm noticing that the whole sense of elitism and let's just say the prior culture is not the same as it is anymore. But the second topic is the most important one, and that is that the amount of money spent on maintaining the courts is a matter that's open for the public to see, because it has its own line item in the budget. We'll later hear from John Lukansky about the amenity usage numbers, and all of our amenities will be compared side by side. Now, our amenities are a valuable part of this, of living in Grand Haven, and it's certainly, when you first choose to buy in here, it's the appearance of this place that is so attractive. It's the oaks, it's the landscaping, it's the beautiful amenities that we have at such an affordable cost when you compare similar amenities, say at the Hammock. It's really a great deal. But it's our responsibility, I think, to look at the costs of maintaining all of these amenities. And right now the topic is the new lawn maintenance contract with Yellowstone. This year it's costing us $79,000. And I can well understand that people who don't play croquet would wonder if that's not too much to be paying. But most residents are really unaware of the cost of maintaining other amenities. because they are shielded behind a line item in the budget with Vesta Services. I wonder if they would be surprised to know that if you really dig deep into, let's just say the tennis budget, for instance, and you factor in the cost of the facilitators looking after the courts every day, the annual cost of clay, the replacement of the screens every 3 years, the cost of electricity to power the lights overhead, the maintenance and the repair of the underground irrigation system, the chemicals that go into that irrigation system. Well, if you look at it on an annualized basis, the cost of maintaining the tennis courts is in fact greater than the croquet courts. I wonder what people would think if they actually knew the cost of maintaining the pools. It should be no surprise that propane is extraordinarily expensive. And it takes a lot of propane to keep the water temperature at a constant level. It's also chemicals involved. And then there's the facilitators who clean and maintain those pools every day. And it wouldn't be, well, I would say it's probably a rough estimate to say that it could be as much as twice as much as what the, on an annualized basis, as what the croquet courts cost.
Peter, 30 seconds. Sir.
Yes, okay. So all I'm asking for here is that we look at the subject of transparency. Either all of these amenities should be exposed to the public to see, or that we should find a way of providing the croquet budget the same degree of shielding, if you will, from public discussion as the other amenities do. It's simply a matter of fairness, simply a matter of evaluating all of these amenities on an equal basis.
That scared me.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Just caught me off guard.
Chip?
Thank you, Chip Haven, 29 Osprey Circle. We've got several things that have been mentioned this morning that were on my mind when I walked in here. And, you know, the board's got some tough decisions to make. First of all, let me say that I sent a note to some of you about some of the past history around here, things that have happened. We talk about parking a lot, and I noticed on the end of today's agenda is a little scribbled map and some comments about a towing policy. In the early 20s, this board looked at the parking problem. We looked at expanding the south lot. We looked at expanding the north lot. There was a proposal at the very beginning of that to take the blank grass area near Bocce and pave it. It would have been the cheapest of all of the parking alternatives. It would have provided more spaces than any of the other two. We also about in that time had a good resident survey. And one of the things the residents said was, we need to utilize our amenities better. We don't need to add amenities. Last Friday night, nothing special was going on here other than the regular Friday night fish fry. I came down here and met a friend. There was no parking here. There was no parking down there. There were 5 cars across the street, cars around the corner in the neighborhood. The board needs to seriously consider whether or not they're going to add parking where we have got space and probably would not have a big problem with St. John's. Just tell you, if I come down here on Friday night again and I can't find a place to come park at 6 o'clock, I'm not going to eat at the cafe. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Thank you, Chip. Tom?
Good morning, everyone.
Mr. Tom, are you going to speak about Meet the Candidates night?
I am.
Madam Chair, would you extend Mr. Burns a few extra moments if he needs it so that he can cover that? I couldn't put it on the agenda due to the timing of when.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Everything? My name is Tom Byrne. I live at 20 Lakeside Way. In the past, my wife and I have been here for 23 years, and I have moderated and organized meet the candidate events to select CDD supervisors. This November, initially we had 3 seats available, 1, 3, and 5, but 1 and 3 have since been covered, and 3 is the only one that is remaining open. We have 3 candidates that are in the audience this morning that are vying for that seat. I would like to have a meet the candidate event. I've already scheduled it with John on October the 22nd, 6 o'clock in the evening. I don't know if we can get enough people involved to select one person. My thought too is maybe inviting the current supervisors to speak briefly about what their role is, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. The 3 candidates are getting 10 minutes to speak, at which I will moderate and control the time limit and so forth. But I just have a feeling that we're not going to be able to fill this room with voters of Grand Haven on 3 or 1 position. So any comments, anything that you can help me with?
Well, thanks, Tom. I know you've done this for many years, and it's definitely appreciated. I think everybody should know that when Tom refers to the fact that 2 of the spots are, what happened is 2 people ran unopposed for those positions, so they're automatically in. One is Rich Mayer, the other is Kathy Myers. But yes, I think it would be nice just to hear a little bit from them, to know what their standings are in Grand Haven, what they feel is important or not important. So I think that's a good idea. And I don't know, I think when I did it, we were able just to get up and give, basically as a candidate, give our thoughts. Do we want to have some specific questions attached to that, or what's your feeling? Or do you just want audience to make questions?
I think if you open it up for questions, you're going to be here all night. However, on the other side of it, if you give each candidate 10 minutes, you're talking about 30 to 40 minutes tops, and you're not going to get a lot of voters to come out for a 30 or 40 minute meeting or event, if you want to call it that. I'm truly open for suggestions. I mean, we're still several months away, and I think you've all gotten the flyer that I made up. I think everybody got that on the board. But I'd like for that to be more comprehensive, if you will. Put other people's names on there that are going to speak for maybe a couple minutes, just to say, this is who I am. We don't, if you look around the audience, we don't have a lot of people that attend the CDD meetings. What we need is somebody, for our voters, our residents, to come and fill this place up, to make it worthwhile. And if we don't do that, it's senseless to have the event. So.
I think, Tom, personally, I think it would be a good idea. It's something that the board can work on individually and then collectively, to put some specific questions out there for the candidates. That's, going to give us perhaps some real hard answers to some of the issues that are facing Grand Haven right now.
But you're suggesting that we do it to the 3 candidates that are on?
Yes, I think they have to have a certain amount of time where they just say what they want to say, but I think they should also answer some specific questions. Give it a little guidance, if you may.
Well, their bios are on the website for Flagler County, and if people want to vote for a particular candidate, they have that right in front of them, and I've got all their bios right with me. So you've got to inspire the voters to come to this so that they can hear firsthand. put a face with a name. I don't know which.
So you're looking for ideas how we can inspire our residents to attend, is that correct?
Yes,
Madam Chair.
exactly what I'm saying.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I have a recommendation. I was just conferring with legal counsel for a moment because we know we're not supposed to run this as a district, but I'll volunteer myself we'll send out an e-blast to the community if the board wishes. We'll ask the community to send any questions directly to me,
Okay.
and then I'll forward those to you. And then that'll collect your list of questions, and then we'll send out maybe 2 or 3, maybe once a month up until maybe the week of, for that Meet the Candidates Night, we'll send out an e-blast.
Well, I looked up the Sunshine Law, and then Scott, you talk about it often, and there's no provision that says they can't meet, there has to be a community event. They can't confer with one another off campus or out of the room, if I'm correct in that.
So real briefly, candidates, unless they're unopposed, are not subject to the Sunshine Law until they're elected. So there can be intercommunication about that. They can talk with board members about their positions on things. I think in an abundance of caution, what I would recommend is when the event's coming up, let's just run a notice that there's a gathering. We call it a notice of gathering, and that supervisors may be present in the audience, and there may be issues discussed which are coming up on a future agenda. That will keep you from feeling like your hands are tied on the topics.
Okay. So Dr. Merrill, you want me to just kind of sit tight until we get our thoughts together?
I think what we'll do is, as Max said, he'll send a couple e-blasts out and ask the community if they want to submit any questions. I think the supervisors can do the same thing, submit questions, and then we will announce this as a notice of gathering, and we'll go from there.
Okay, the room has already been reserved
Okay.
for 5 o'clock.
Okay.
I was going to start the event at 6 o'clock, getting us opportunity. Typically, and I think I've shared this with you, that we have the podium and the tables there and the audience back this way instead of this configuration.
Sure, that sounds good. Thank you, Tom.
Tom, just to confirm October 22nd?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. 5
Did you get a copy of the flyer?
Yes, I did. I don't have it with me. Thank you.
Right. But I don't want to send that out until maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the actual event. Maybe we'll do it twice.
I'll work with you just to coordinate how we're going to communicate the e-blast.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, we'll close the public comment public comment section, and we will move on to the next agenda item, which is the presentation and proof of publication. We're meeting our ongoing requirements to publicly notice our meetings. That's in the agenda. And then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to staff reports. And first up is David Sowell, but David isn't calling in. We're keeping those costs down. We are still working on finalizing the project, the road resurfacing project, but that'll be covered under, I believe, the operations report. It's been in weekly updates, and I believe it's also in the monthly report, but we're working to finalize that. They've been paid 90%, we'll retain the 10% until they do the thermoplastic. And next on the agenda is Amenity Manager John Lekansky.
You have my report. Included in the report, we have our monthly amenity totals. So we printed out every different way you can check your money, how they're being attended. And you can see number 1 is the Creekside Pool, number 2 is the Grand Haven Room, and number 3 is the Village Center Pool. These are your daily, there's monthly totals, daily average, your high day, I mean, everything's in the report. So to give you as much information as you can to make decisions on the amenities. So we'll keep doing this, we'll keep providing this every month for you, but you can see what everybody's using. So that way you can, for your decisions down the road on amenities, have some facts behind with all this.
That's a great accumulation of data. We appreciate it, John.
It only takes the, a facilitator 10 minutes to walk around. We don't go exactly down at 8 o'clock. We do about 15 minutes after, so we get a pretty good count for that. And it's every hour. So we don't use the cafe in this. We know the cafe brings in 35,000 meals a year. So your cafe is your number one. But this will give you a good idea of what people are using here. Any questions?
Supervisors, any questions? No? Okay. Thank you, John.
All right, we'll move on to the Director of Operations, Ms. Vanessa Stepien. Give me a second, Vanessa, I'll pull it up.
Okay. Did the board have any questions about the report?
Vanessa, I have, now it works. One question about the ponds, and you had said that you were looking at some different options. And my one concern was that if we use the very expensive treatment for the phosphates, are we just treating the symptom, or are we actually getting at the cause?
It's just treating the symptom.
Okay, is there any plan to deal with what's generating the phosphate?
For every pond is different. Are you referring to pond 6? Yeah, so I did reach out to the golf course. I asked them to let that grow. They said they would consider it. They have not confirmed yet whether they will or not. So we are looking at some other ideas, solutions regarding different types of aeration. It is a stormwater detention pond. It is designed to catch runoff. The golf course is not doing anything wrong, but we are looking into the way the water is going into the pond. We're looking at lots of different options.
Okay, because my understanding is that the greens drain via pipe into the pond, so.
Yeah, we're looking into it.
Okay, thank you.
We have to keep in mind that this is not the only golf course pond in the community. There are ponds that are completely surrounded by golf course that are not having the same issues as pond 6. So it's worth looking into.
Okay, thank you.
While we're talking about ponds, I'll just, as I'm sitting here, first thing this morning when we got notice of the fish kill in Pond 1, our staff is on site, our entire field staff is there, all hands on deck, taking the fish out. Solitude did get here, they are on site, performing water testing to try to determine the cause of the fish kill. The last time that pond was treated was June 3rd. It was treated for planktonic algae, so that was over a month ago. They did do an inspection last week, did not see anything notable in the report. They have offered to replace the dead fish at no cost to the district. The aerator is working. It's been fully functional due to the fish kill, so it's still unclear, but we will be sending an e-bus with that information along with any other information we get regarding the fish kill.
So, Vanessa, so Solitude is working with you on all these different issues?
Correct, yes.
But as Janet pointed out, they don't have they haven't given you ideas on how to fix the problem outside of decreasing runoff from the golf course. Now, Pond 6 is a long pond, and half of it is the golf course, so there's a lot of area for fertilizer to run off.
Correct.
So that's probably just one of many things that can be considered.
Correct. Part of their recommendations are littoral shelf plantings. Unfortunately, that is not our property. We can't plant on golf course property. The CDD side is bulkheaded and wouldn't.
So it wouldn't do any good to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do they think it's significant enough, the runoff from the pools, et cetera, that Pond 6 has?
we know that that was a factor in the fish kill that occurred on Pond 6. We have not gotten any reports that that is an ongoing issue.
Okay. So you're still looking into it?
Still looking into it. We're out looking at other options too for short-term fixes. Our staff actually was able to build and develop a machine that can suck off the surface algae, if that makes any sense, but they built it. So they just started using it this week. Again, that's a short-term fix. It does help in those trouble areas. Maybe Pond 6 has some of them. A lot of the ponds have that, where it just gets in a little cove and it's hard to deal with. The algae is heavy, so the algae you see on the surface of the pond, there's a lot that hangs down into the water. So when you go to pull it up, not only is it wet, which makes it heavy, but it's much more substantial than you can tell from looking at the surface. So this machine that they've created actually pulls it out and gets it onto the bank so that then they can let it dry and remove it. So we're thinking out of the box. We're not just relying on solitude. We're doing everything we can.
And I know Pond 6 probably has bigger visibility to the residents, but Pond 28 is pretty miserable.
Correct.
And anything more on that?
They were on site this week. They did go in and break it up. That has a different type of algae than Pond 6 is experiencing right now. It's called Splendor Spike Rush. So part of the issues with different types of algae, actually breaking it up can cause it to spread more. So you have to treat different algae in different ways. Also, killing algae too quickly in abundance can cause fish kills. So we need to be mindful of that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that you guys are doing a great job trying to wrestle this thing to the ground. There is no simple answer. But, one of the things that the community is perennially frustrated with this, right? Maybe at some point we could do a polling or something. Howard, I'm kind of looking at you, to see if there's best practices at other communities that we could bring back and say, we've looked at this one, and this is what these communities are doing, successful or not, and this is what we're doing. I think because there are a lot of communities that are in the same boat, so to speak, as we are.
That's true, and not just communities, the cities too. The cities, you can drive through Palm Coast and see all the ponds full of algae. And it's a seasonal issue as well.
Yeah. So, I don't need to go do the polling of those communities. I've managed, over my career, probably 60 communities. So, what we're doing is following those best practices. She's trying to get with the golf course to make sure that maybe we can create a buffer. Littoral shelf plantings help because it soaks up some of the nutrients. Obviously, there's some fish that add benefits to the pond, and we're going to continue to do those things. We're adding aerators. It's on every one of our budgets going forward. So whether it's replacing an aerator or adding another aerator, up to the discretion of the district director of operations, we're working with Solitude to do that. One thing that Vanessa is going to be doing, and I should hopefully be here next week, is Solitude's bringing a scientist down here to just kind of support the one that we have on that's part of the account management. They're just going to come down here and take a look at Pond 6 and some of our other trouble ponds that Vanessa wants them to look at. So when we get all those reports, she'll bring them back to you, but there's nothing new under the sun, and if I was to tell you that it's happening in other districts, I wouldn't be lying. I've got a lot of algae in most of my other districts.
Very good. Yep.
More questions of Vanessa regarding the report? No? Anything you want to add, Vanessa? No? Okay.
May I add, does the board find her weekly updates valuable? Because that's
absolutely.
That's at an executive level. You're getting a digest of that, and then the public gets that in a summarized format in the report. So I think the reporting's gotten much better, and thank you, Vanessa.
And I would say to the supervisors, if you see something on the report, you don't have to wait to the meeting. Get on the phone call or go visit any of the people who get reports, so you can do that.
All right.
Move on to district council's report.
Okay, thank you. You've got my report. and I'll answer any questions. The one thing that I wanted to talk about was the CDD supervisor recall legislation and the proposed rule language. The proposed rule is lengthy and it kind of goes step by step, so if you've read it, you understand the process. But simply, the legislature decided to take the original proposal and make it more complicated, surprise, surprise. But what they've done is make it consistent with existing law that applies to cities and counties. And that law creates what's essentially a three-step process. So if after today's meeting someone decides I just can't stand that supervisor who's sitting there and wants to go into the process, the first thing that has to happen is there's a recall committee. It appoints a chairman. That committee goes out and gathers petition signatures. They have to get signatures from 10% of the registered voters within the district to even start the process. If that fails, then it's over. If it succeeds, it goes to the supervisor of elections, who matches and validates the signatures and charges a fee for that. If the signatures are all check out, then it is sent to us, to the CDD, and there begin to be some actions that we have to take. The second step involved is there's a subsequent petition drive. If the first one passes, then another petition has to be signed by 15% of the registered voters within the district to put it on the ballot. Why they chose those two methods, because they kind of duplicate each other. It may be an intention to make the process more difficult and more expensive so that people wouldn't undertake it lightly. But if the second petition passes, then there are things, there's information that we're required to post on our website. We're required to publish notice of an election to be held. We're required to send a letter to every registered voter within the district advising them of that. And then an election is held. And if a majority of that election vote to remove the supervisor, that seat becomes vacant. And then we fill it by appointment, much the way we do if somebody resigns in our current process. The process is cumbersome. It's also very expensive for anyone who would undertake it. So this recall committee has to pay the supervisor of election fees twice for verifying petition signatures. And what was not entirely clear in the legislation is how they pay our fees, because we would be required to spend a fairly considerable amount of money doing mailings, publications, and postings to the website. So one of the reasons I decided to put this in a rule format is to clarify that there's a requirement that we be reimbursed up front for any expenses that we incur. So this committee that wants to do the recall would need to pay us for the newspaper ad, would need to pay us for the mailings. I added paying us for staff time that we spend in doing that, because the legislation wasn't really clear on that. Another thing I covered that I thought was a gap in the legislation is we're required to put certain information on our website, but as I read it, that information includes sensitive personal information like driver's license numbers, partial social security numbers that these people submit with the petition. So I've tried to clarify that we will redact that personal and private information from whatever we put on our website. The other thing that I think it didn't say that bears saying is that I believe that there should be a policy of neutrality from the CDD board. The CDD as an entity should not either promote a recall or oppose the recall. There's a process where there's a statement of the charges against the supervisor that would form the basis of a recall, and then the supervisor has an opportunity to publish a rebuttal, and we have to publish all of those things. But I think as a board, we should take no position, and we should not expend any public funds advocating or opposing that. We just let the process run out. What that doesn't mean in my language is you supervisors as private citizens can vote, can sign petitions, can vote and participate privately in the process, but you could not use your office. You could not send an email or a flyer out saying, I, Kevin Foley, as a supervisor, support this or I oppose this. It's purely a private process that we don't want to have any involvement in other than doing the things that we have to do. And so for those reasons, I've drafted a proposed rule. I'm recommending to all the districts that I represent that we adopt this as part of our rules of procedure. In our case, this would become Chapter 2, because you'll recall a couple months ago we vacated the existing Chapter 2, which was out of date. So if adopted, it would become Chapter 2 and be part of our rules. So I'll pause and answer any questions on that.
Supervisors, questions?
I just had, I read this, and I think this will be kind of fascinating to watch if anything ever comes of these things. Does the petitioner, what do you want to call it, recall committee, have to pay all the costs of the supervisor of elections, not just the count the signatures, do all that work?
Yes.
But don't they have to do the ballots and all that stuff?
They do the petitions, so there are 2 layers of petitions, and that would have to be prepared and managed by this recall committee. If there's an election, the supervisor of elections runs that the same as any other election, and of course, that's a significant expense. It's a special election, out of cycle, which actually costs a lot of money to hold an election.
So who pays? It's not clear who pays.
That recall committee will have to pay the cost of the election.
Whoa.
So there's a strong disincentive, and people will have different opinions about whether it's too strong or just right. My concern with the original legislation was that it was probably going to be too easy and would be misused, for political purposes. And the legislature has done a good job of giving people disincentive. But there is a place. At the start of this, I think I told the board that this originated out of a CDD in Osceola County where suddenly $900,000 went missing without explanation or meetings or paper trails. So yeah, there are going to be situations where this would be a good tool that doesn't currently exist when there's a rogue board or a rogue board member.
Yeah.
I don't see it getting used a lot just because of how cumbersome it is and expensive it is.
And then, Scott, so when you talk about a committee that gets together, that is just a committee of concerned residents?
Correct. Has nothing.
They constitute themselves.
Nothing to do with the CDD. It just, someone decides, I want to take this action, and publishes it, communicates it through whatever means, and gathers a group to work with him or her, and then I suppose they go door to door and try to get petitions signed.
More questions?
But wasn't there a process before? So let's say that somebody commits a felony that's on the board. I go out and I rob a bank.
Just hypothetically.
Yeah, just hypothetically, right? Some could argue that I've robbed banks for my entire career, but wasn't there a process where the board could go to the governor and say, hey, we want this guy off?
The only process existing before this statute, and by the way, the statute took effect 1st of July, so it's in force now. The only process was removal by the governor. And generally, in my experience, the governor removes public officials when they're charged with a serious crime. Although this governor has gone somewhat beyond that with policy differences, but this is brand new.
So we need to move to adopt this
Yeah, so
resolution.
my intention would be to adopt it as a rule. To do that, there are publications that have to happen, as you're aware, and I think the September meeting would be the earliest we could do it. And if the board wants to move forward, then we'll proceed and we'll do the publications and do that.
Okay. Everybody in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does something have to go into the supervisor, what's that, code of ethics?
Code of ethics?
Does something have to go into the code of conduct too, to start it? I don't, it's not worth talking about.
I don't think so, no, not on this. So we would need a motion to
Proceed.
advertise and set a public hearing. Is September a good time
It would be, let me
from process?
make sure we got the.
It could go on the consent agenda.
No, it's a public hearing, so it,
Right.
So we'd be looking at the 17th, September 17th.
so we'll look
Okay,
for.
so I would so move that we begin the publication and setting of a public meeting to adopt this new resolution. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
The motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor Myers. All in favor. The motion passed 4-0.
Beyond that, there are a couple other pieces of legislation that I'm looking at to see whether it impacts us. There was one bill, for instance, requiring all governmental entities to change their policies on acceptance of payments, how they accept payments, through electronic means, and I'll be talking with staff about whether that requires any change. I've been asked in a couple meetings this question, and it relates to the proposed constitutional amendment on ad valorem tax exemptions. I've been asked by some board members, does that affect how we do business in any way? It does not, because it applies to ad valorem taxes, and our revenues are non-ad valorem assessments, or in other words, are not based on the value, it's just a flat fee. So that would not change how we do business. There are a few CDDs who levy taxes for certain things. It's rare, but it does happen, and CDDs do have the power to do that under certain circumstances, but we don't, and we've never talked about it, and so that will not impact our revenue. And that's all, unless the board has questions for me.
Questions? Thank you.
to, for my report, I'll probably have a more of a platform at the next meeting, which will be your public hearing notice. And then I've circulated the proposed meeting calendar for next year, received some very favorable comments on that, so that is likely ready to roll out also at the next meeting in August. And there are other items on here that I'll interact with or have comment on, but I'll answer any questions that anybody has for me right now.
Questions? Supervisors? Anything? Matt? No?
My kind of meeting, thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. That in the consent agenda is the consideration, the acceptance of the June 2026 unaudited financial report, which is your unaudited financials. And as well in there is the meeting minutes of the June 18th meeting, and then the ratification and adoption of Resolution 2026-10, redesignating the officers, as well as the ratification of the 2026 capital projects tracker. Item D, ratification of 2026 capital projects and the project tracker. You'll recall in the new adopted policy for the board procurement policy that any changes that we make to that would come on the consent agenda as you can see it. So we're still trending under budget. We're looking to take on possibly a few other items this fiscal year. So we're looking to be at or below budget, but we did add the dog park renovation over there. That's coming to a head. We have everything we need on the proposals and we're ready to move forward, and it'll be at or below that budget amount. So if there's any questions about the capital project tracker, happy to answer it. Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Supervisor Foley,
Second.
second by Dr. Merrill. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
I just have one question, Howard. Yeah, you're talking about the, as you were talking, I had been thinking about, we had the June numbers. So we're basically 3/4 of the way through that fiscal year. You just said that we'd be under budget, at least on the capital side of it.
At or below, yes.
Yeah, I suspect the O&M will be similar.
It'll be below.
Yeah. Is it worthwhile to the board and to the community for at the annual meeting in August to have a projected year-end look? We've talked about this several times in the past. You know, so say, here we are, we're at 9 months, here's what the rest of the year is probably going to look like. We're going to be either over or under. We're talking about approving the budget.
Mm-hmm.
So could we make some comments on where we think we're going to end up on the current budget?
I can do that.
Okay.
Also, I believe at that meeting, we historically do a year-end review of what we've done, so we'll look to see where we're at with that. If we don't do it at that meeting, it'll be at a meeting before the end of the fiscal year, a year-end review. So keep in mind, we just transitioned. I'm back. Vanessa's in her new role. She's done a very good job of cataloging all of these things, but I don't want to speak for her to know if she'll be ready, and I don't expect her to answer today either, but we know that's something we want to do.
Pictures, Vanessa, right?
Yes, we have lots of pictures. We're ready whenever you want to.
Well, there you have it.
Pictures.
It's on the record.
Pictures. Right.
All right, so
And then, you know what, Matt, I know sorry to interrupt, I know we spoke about that a little and your ideas and Vanessa's, but I think also to spread the word for everybody, this might be another opportunity just to have a little poster about the new management, because it will be in the oak tree,
sure,
which comes out in August, and it's been in other things, but it's another avenue.
I will have some easels set up. I don't know if anybody remembers it, the last time I did it, but I'll have a few easels with some poster boards up of what's the hot items for the budget, and we can add a poster board of the management change and the positive results of efficiencies and effectiveness that's happened. So we can do that.
I did.
Did we approve the acceptance of the audit also in the consent
I think
agenda?
it's coming, is it on the agenda?
The annual audit's under business item.
Oh, sorry.
D, spoiler alert, it's a good, clean audit, and there's no findings, but I'm not going to go into great detail with that unless you.
Well, I would just tell you that what I thought was I compared the 930 unaudited, our internal numbers, to the audit, and they were pretty close.
Yep.
There's a $42,000 difference between the excess of revenues over expenses, and remarkably, because it never works out this way, but it did this time, it's the same change in the fund balance from budget versus actual. So I mean from the unaudited numbers to the audited numbers, so it's very good. I don't know whether you guys ever reconcile, or somebody reconciles that 42 grand to find out where that might have come from. But that might be looking for a needle in a haystack, I understand that. But anyway, I thought all things considered, that's very good.
I'll comment under the unaudited financials. So no further discussion on consent agenda? All in favor? None being opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Move on to business item 7A, which is fact-finding group. The Connect group will ask Mrs. Mandela to come up. Please, thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
It's okay? Not so good? How about that? Better?
A little bit.
Okay. Good morning, supervisors. I'm Linda Lake, speaking today for Connect, our fact-finding group on communications, alongside our CDD liaison, Janet Greenwood, and Vanessa Stepniak, our operations manager. Bill Delaney was not able to be with us today. I want to be upfront about something. I'm not a technology person. Terms like PWA, crossover platforms, and CRM were not a part of my vocabulary a year ago. I've learned a great deal working through this process with Connect and with Vanessa's help. But the technology side of this is genuinely outside my comfort zone. What I can say with confidence is where our fact-finding has led us. I'm here to report on that and to explain the terms as I go along so that it's clear to everyone in the room, not just those of us who live it, who we are and why we're here. Connect is the second CDD's fact-finding group on communications, chartered in 2025 to improve transparency and engage residents constructively. An important distinction: we're a fact-finding group, not a recommending body. We bring you facts and options. The ultimate decision is yours. The problem we set out to solve. Our current communications tools, constant contact email blasts, and a static website haven't really been reaching most residents. Only the amenities pages get regular traffic. Complaints often come without enough detail, location, photos, context, and that slows our staff down. There's also been a lingering feeling in the community that the CDD just isn't communicating all that well. These problems led us to a clear realization. That is that a streamlined operations and tool to respond effectively to resident concerns are paramount in a district like ours. Our process. We looked at 4 ways to reach residents: social media, an upgraded website, a progressive web app, or PWA, and a native mobile app. For those new to this jargon, a PWA is a website that works like an app, but it opens through a browser or a link or text or QR code. No download. A native app is the kind you download from an app store and like a dozen that you probably got on your desktop. We weighed each option on features, control, misinformation risk, privacy, cost, ease of use, accessibility, and ease of updating. We benchmarked 3 similar Florida communities: Celebration, Durban Crossing, and the Villages. Each uses a native app by a provider called GoGov. What we found: social media has strong reach, especially with younger residents. But it's a public space. We don't own it, and it's where misinformation spreads fastest. Also, it doesn't facilitate efficient operations. A PWA gives us a channel we fully control, a verified source of truth residents can check against social media chatter. But users say PWAs are cumbersome, less secure, and don't behave identically across devices. And if Grand Haven ever wants GPS, Bluetooth, biometrics, or AI features, PWAs currently can't support that. Our conclusion: a native app is worth investigating. It's what other communities we looked at are using. It meets our current needs with speed, efficiency, and security, and leaves room for future features like Bluetooth, GPS, biometrics, or tap-to-enter gate access. Some of the benefits to residents: just one branded app on your desktop for CDD notifications and information. Service requests with GPS tagging and photo upload anytime. Real-time updates as issues move forward toward resolution. Emergency alerts by area, road closures, outages, and severe weather. Two-way logged messaging with CDD staff supporting Chapter 190 compliance. One place for meeting notices, agendas, and maintenance schedules. Data handling that's ADA compliant and accessible for residents with disabilities and held to strict privacy and security standards. Some benefits to staff and operations. Requests are automatically routed to the right staff member or crew. Field crews update job status and cost from their phones. Automatic alerts when something's overdue, so attention goes where it's needed. Built-in resident satisfaction tracking through KPI to spot trends before they become bigger problems. A quick word about KPI. Please forgive me if I digress, because this is cool stuff. Key performance indicators. This software can analyze resident satisfaction by tracking interactions, logging feedback, and monitoring app usage patterns. KPIs replace gut feelings with objective data. Another benefit: GIS mapping. It ties directly into work orders, no manual re-entry. And I think I should just take another minute to elaborate on GIS, because this is great. Geographical Information System, or GIS mapping, is a technology that captures, stores, manages, and displays data tied to specific geographic locations. By combining interactive maps with powerful databases, it allows users to overlay different layers of information, such as roads, stormwater drains, irrigation, electric and cable, marsh borders, and much, much more, like your ponds, machinery updates, testing, owner-resident reports, to uncover hidden patterns and make database-driven decision. It can track the health and last trim dates of our oak trees. Following a heavy storm, work crews can map downed limbs, flooded ponds, and block culverts, and instantly share it with Florida County Geographic Information Systems. GIS also helps route security and contractors without causing bottlenecks or blocked roads. I'd really love to say more about that if you're interested, so please let me know.
Go for it.
Let's compare the vendors. We interviewed 4 platform providers, brought back 3 for deeper evaluation, and narrowed it down to 2 finalists, GoGov and AppMeisters. GoGov is an established off-the-shelf platform already used by many municipalities. Its strengths are proven work order tracking, multi-channel notifications, think email, SMS, mobile push, a resident CRM, here's one of the jargon, customer relation management, that's the record-keeping tool you guys use to track resident interaction, and built-in GIS mapping. AppMeisters builds fully custom software. It's more flexible on paper, but every feature, work orders, mapping, staff tools, would be built from scratch, which adds to the cost and timeline risk. It's worth noting, AppMeisters builds excellent applications using a mix of native and crossover platforms, and their work speaks for itself. But a project like ours, residential CDD, amenities, gate access, Chapter 190 compliance, would be new territory for them, not something they've built before. A possible path forward. Again, these are findings and options, not a recommendation. A phased approach. Formal vendor selection, then a 12-month basic trial to measure success. Messages read, read rates, tickets opened and closed, and analysis of resident satisfaction. Add-ons like social media integration or an AI chatbot would be considered only after that baseline is met. In the meantime, Connect keeps working with staff on stopgap communications while a platform decision is pending. A postscript. Fact-finding in this realm is complicated by the speed at which the field is evolving. I continue to stay abreast of small municipal digital platforms, and last night I discovered that two have emerged nicely using a PWA, Tecumseh and Greater Napanee in Ontario, Canada. And guess what they're reporting on this morning? Don't breathe the air. Smoke is everywhere. Shows up on your phone. Also worth noting, in 3 to 5 years, AI may radically change the digital platform landscape. So stay tuned. We are happy to take questions.
First of all, Linda, great research. I know you and your fact-finding group put a lot of time into this, and we really appreciate it. Questions? What I would say at this point, for us to move forward, which I believe we need to move forward, we need to put Grand Haven in the proper decade. We're not in the proper decade technologically. I think we should, at this point, take this information, give it to Vanessa. Vanessa's very aware of it, and she has been an integral part of this. Since Vanessa will be handling, obviously this type of a app will require constant maintenance, and that means someone within the CDD office will be involved in it. That should be something that Vanessa decides, and I think she will probably want to pick an app that delivers the most bang to both the office and the residents. So at this point, it would be my feelings that we hand this over to Vanessa to make the final decision on it as to which company is chosen. Supervisors, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, I think it's only appropriate that management is the one that interacts with contractors.
You know, the one thing I want to add is that it was very interesting during the process, and as you said, Vanessa was a big part of the process, is that how efficient it can make the workflows in her office and maintain the tracking capability as well. So that would be a big plus.
Okay, I think we move forward with that. You're accepting the challenge, I'm assuming.
Yes, I will accept the challenge.
Okay. All I can say is great work, Linda, Janet. I know both of you. I know Rich also, and then Bill Delaney. You accomplished a lot. I want you to keep working out there in ways that we can better communicate with the residents, but this is a huge step, so thank you.
And I'd like to just take a moment to thank the supervisors for their continued support over 18 months. It was a lot. And especially thank Vanessa for her patience and forbearance.
Just wanted to set a reasonable expectation and timeline for the record and for the board and for Vanessa. Trying to just strategically spend time on the budget at the budget hearing. Maybe we'll have a couple action items that we have to get through, including administratively the consent agenda. So you okay with September meeting? have a recommendation?
For having a recommendation?
Okay. There you have it. All right, well, the next item is a conglomerate. It's actually a combined effort. If you recall, at the last meeting, Supervisor Foley asked for permission to create a fact-finding group for the purpose of looking at a option of working with the homeowners association to have some sort of a capital improvement contribution to new homeowners coming into the community. The board's directive at that meeting, the last meeting, was for council and Supervisor Foley to discuss certain things, maybe more of the district council has more of a chance to opine on the mission, facts, and parameters, excuse me. So at this point, I'll turn it over to either Kevin and district council to discuss with the board.
Okay. I don't want to forget, I want to give a quick update on the underground stormwater system group as well.
You can do that, sir. It's under your report.
It doesn't say one or the other, I don't.
Yeah, discussion topics B. That'll be on there after the business item, sir.
So, okay. Make a kind of a long story short. The Master Association, Rob brought up at the Master Association meeting the concept of having someone from the Master Association join this fact-finding group. And it was voted, Rob volunteered, and I would say after much dialogue at that meeting, it was okayed for him to be part of the group. So that's set. There's one other person that is going to join, and I want to, I don't want to mention a lot of names today, but I need one more person to be part of this, and I'm having a little difficulty finding someone. I reached out to the women's club to see if there was interest there. Folks are working on that. If there's anyone that you other board members know who might be a good candidate for this group, then terrific.
Kevin, who's on the group now? Who's in the group?
It's me, Rob, and Joe. And I need at least one more.
Do we want to consider, this is just a question, do we want to consider putting a Grand Haven realtor on the committee?
We could do that. I am not opposed to that. If someone raises his or her hand and wants to do that, that's fine. I've spoken with a couple of them, so I know that I can ask either one.
Okay. All right, why doesn't everybody, supervisors, think about that? Or do you have any other suggestions for people you'd like to add? Kathy and Janet, or no?
I don't.
Okay.
And you know it.
Okay. All right, and why is Joe on the committee?
He volunteered.
He volunteered, okay. I didn't know if he had some expertise in something.
No, not particularly. I would also say, not that you don't have any expertise in anything, Joe, but the other thing is that we do have a list of communities that have put together, that use this mechanism today, and Jay was very kind to give me a list of those communities. So we're putting together a list of questions to pose to those communities to find out, how it works, what's good, what's bad, how has it affected, things going on in the community, how has it changed the community, if any, important questions. And once we gather all those facts, which shouldn't take a heck of a long time, but once we gather all those facts, we'll bring them back, because there's clearly if the boards, meaning the Master Association and the CDD, want to go ahead with this, then, the big hurdle here is that you need to have 2/3 of the residents, owners, to vote in favor of a change or an amendment to the Master Association governing documents. And that won't be easy to do, I don't think. So it's going to require an awful lot of additional work. But before we get to that point, we've got to develop all the information for the board to consider, and both boards to consider and decide whether they want to go forward. But to me, I'm a little passionate about this, I guess, but to me, if we don't do the work, at least to gather the information and to find out what the community wants to do, then I think we're not serving the community well.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I think we can't move on anything we don't have sufficient information on, and we have to see what the community feels about it.
Yeah, the communication to the community, if we decide to go forward, is going to have to be incredibly good, and volume-wise as well. Town halls, emails, website, neighborhood to neighborhood kind of thing, to make sure that people understand what it is they're being presented with, and a survey, probably, so that we know, is it worth it to go ahead and get a vote? I mean, if the survey and everything, after we do all that work, and the survey comes back and says, no, you don't have anywhere near 2/3, then we're going to make a decision. If you've got 80% of the people in favor of it, well, it's okay, let's move forward.
Well,
So that's speculation.
maybe the app will be ready for that by then.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But yeah, so, okay, that sounds good. I would recommend, put maybe realtors are, they welcome that to Grand Haven,
Yeah.
so maybe put one on the committee.
Okay.
If anybody knows anybody or one of them volunteers,
I'll check with the two of you.
Okay, thank you.
Just to mention on the stormwater group.
Supervisor Fuller, did you want district council to weigh in on the mission? And
Oh, you can. No, he's the only one. He's shaking his head. So the report is coming together on the fact-finding group. This is for the underground, or the above and below ground stormwater system fact-finding group. That final report is coming together. The pilot program went very well, and it'll all be detailed very nicely in the report, pictures before and after. I think there will be options for the board to consider on a go-forward basis, and I think that based on the discussions that we're having, I think the board and the community is going to be very pleased with the report. So I'm very happy about that.
And when will that be out?
September.
Yeah, the goal is September.
So
We
that
have
will
a
be,
pretty busy meeting in September.
so, yeah,
And thank you to Vanessa, Howard, Steve, for tremendous work on this.
and it will be, and it's a fact-finding group, so that it will be the same as just occurred today. It will be information that we will be given, and we will make decisions on
Yeah, I'm sorry,
how to deal with it.
Louise, how could I have missed you?
I don't know.
She drove this thing and made it happen.
All right. Madam Chair, we'll move on in the agenda, and we'll go to the consideration and adoption of Resolution 2026-11. This is designating signatories on the bank accounts. As was in the consent agenda and approved at the last meeting, there was a redesignating of officers, and we had new officers of the board sworn in. As well, we had Christine Ritchie, who is the Chief Accounting Officer for Vesta, added as your treasurer. So Sky Lee has taken another opportunity with a friend. I've spoken to her. She's working with a friend now, so she went on to other things. And we'll miss Sky, but I've known Christine Ritchie for a long time, several years. and she's the chief accounting officer. So I wouldn't call it an upgrade, but she's one of the top 3-4 individuals at Vesta, and she's now your treasurer. So that's a good thing. Patricia Kerr is the accounting manager for Vesta District Services. And then you have Scott Smith, who's the vice president of district services. So you've got all the top hitters on there, and those will be the appointees on the accounts, which gives us the internal controls that we aim for. And as I like it in all my districts, thank you, Jay, I like to have all the key top individuals on my districts. So thank you. So just ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-11 designating the signatories. And this is a bank document or a resolution that will be sent to the banks so that they have the authority to act on behalf of the district. Motion by the chair.
I second.
Second by Supervisor Greenwood. All in favor?
Aye.
None being opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the audit. Give me a second when we get to that. The audit is a very lengthy report. The district is required by statute to have an independent audit of its annual financials. This is the audit of the fiscal year 2025 financials, and it's done by Grau & Associates. Grau is a top-rated independent auditing firm here in the state. Tony Grau has, I've actually met with the owner of this company. He's a great individual, and there's probably 4, maybe 5 auditing firms that do special districts. And I might be a little biased, but I think these guys are one of the best. Their interactions in the back office with the accounting folks is top-notch, and they create links for us to move things efficiently, effectively, and safely when we're dealing with financials. And I know that the accounting team really prefers to work with them when they can. So with that introduction, the first item in their report is their letter. They just talk about the responsibilities and obligations. And I'm just going to read a couple things, and then I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the audit because this is a very lengthy report. I'm not an auditor, but I do understand the report. But I'll address Supervisor Foley's prior comment about funds. So when we close out the books for September 30th of any fiscal year, our fiscal year starts October 1st. Let's say this is the 2025 audit, which it is. It started October 1st, 2024, and ended September 30th, 2025. So that completes that audit. So now we're in the 2025-2026 fiscal year. So this fiscal year that we're in started October 1st. So everybody follows the timeline with government fiscal years. So we cut off any postings. We have to have a drop-dead cutoff. And the statute allows us to have I call it a statutory out, to kind of break the rule, if you will. Our requirement is to balance a budget and to stay within that budget. But let's say we miss that, we overshoot it, we overspend. There's a statutory out that allows us to do a budget amendment. And we have to have that done by, I think it's November 30th, but it could be November 15th. It's in November, and we have to have a budget amendment passed by that time so that we can meet that statutory requirement. That budget amendment allows us to go through and reallocate what the budget should be based on those actuals so that we can tie a knot at the end of our financials. And then we present that and all the support documentation to the auditing firm. They get everything, receipts, and they go through it. It's an exhaustive effort on their behalf. It isn't a 30-day off effort. So we endeavor to get those items to the auditor by December, because the sooner we get things to an auditing firm, keep in mind there's over 1,000 CDDs in Florida, and how many auditing firms did I say there are? So they're very busy. So if you start sending them items in February or March, you're going to be in trouble, and you're going to miss your district deadlines, which is June, for having your audit completed. We've met the requirement. We have the audit done. It's here. So the audit is done. I signed off on it. This is just a memorialization of the audit. So that's a little bit of the process. But with respect to financial statement preparation, the following safeguards are in place. This is what to look for. Management made all decisions and performed all management functions. competent individual is assigned to oversee the services. Management evaluated the adequacy of the services performed. Management evaluated and accepted responsibility for the results of the services performed, and management established and maintained internal controls, including monitoring and ongoing activities. One internal control, I'm not going to list them all. One that I'm very familiar with is I have the final approval of all the invoices, right? So that's a daunting task when you have multiple districts, you're looking at it. But the first step in that is Vesta has a really cool partner in the game, and that is Avid Exchange. And all the invoices are scanned and then using AI features and other capabilities in tech, and it goes into what we call a strong room. In that strong room, we assign who can have access to approve invoices. We don't just want anybody doing it, right? So in Grand Haven, Vanessa is your first step. So Vanessa is most definitely the first step because she's approving the work to get done to begin with. So she has the intimate knowledge of what's going on. She looks complete. She knows when the projects are done. She can sign off on it. So her approval is the first step. And I'll take it a step back. Once it's uploaded, the AP folks look at it, give it a brief, they hit send, it goes out to the districts. Then it goes to someone like Vanessa. After Vanessa codes it, classifies it, puts it in the right bucket, expense bucket, it goes to me. And it can happen all on the same day, but it just, sometimes, you have to research things. By the time it gets to me, yes, I'm reviewing every invoice, but I'm just mainly looking to make sure it's going in the right bucket. And if I don't understand something, I'll reach out to the director of operations in other districts, the general managers, or whoever their titles are. Once I approve it, then it goes back to the AP. You have the accounts payable manager was on your account. We now have another accounts payable person that reports directly to your accounts payable manager at Vesta. And sometimes they interact with both of us, with both of them, with me and Vanessa on that. So we are training individuals on the process of approving invoices, and we'll probably make some modifications to kind of take some of that load off of Vanessa eventually. But the buck stops with me. Once it goes to AP, then they send it, and those checks get sent. So it's a really good process. We've done away with a lot of cutting checks in-house, and we got lost in the mail, or duplication. AI picks up a lot of that stuff. Sometimes things slip through, right? But then that's where the human interaction comes in. We have to be really good at knowing what we're doing. So those internal controls are in place. They're working fabulously here at Grand Haven, and it's a large reason we don't have any findings with that. What gets written is what gets done, one of my favorite sayings. So moving on to I'm going to go to the last page. The 40,000 that you're talking about, Kevin, that's the deadline. We cut off, we have to send it, it is what it is. Sometimes the auditor makes us move things from one bucket to another. Maybe it was coded to, maybe I had an expense that was coded to janitorial cleaning and it needed to go to pool chemicals. I don't know. They have the final say on where things need to go. They don't really spend a lot of time telling us where things need to go, but if it was a capital item in it and it was an O&M, they may move some things around. So they'll adjust those things, and that'll be the final fund balance reallocation and reconciliation. They're really looking at fund balance, and we have good fund balance. We have good, strong procedures in place, and we meet all the GASB requirements, Governmental Accounting Standard Board. So GAAP, we follow GAAP, the generally accepted policies and procedures for governmental accounting. So I know there's been a lot of discussion about zero-based budgeting, and we had all of those lengthy discussions, but this is why we do what we do. I want to point back to the audit as they know, but they're the industry experts. This is how it's done. Grand Haven's a model for success in many districts, and I'm proud to tell you that you had a clean audit. So at the end, there's of the audit, and if anybody wants to have an in-depth discussion with me, I'll open up some time. They can meet with me, and we can go over the audit information, but I'll get to the short version of this.
So they're required to do the independent and meet meet all the requirements for looking for the ethical responsibilities in accordance with the relevant ethical requirements relating to the examination engagement, which you have engaged them. And they said, in their opinion, the district complied in all material respects with the aforementioned requirements, which I outlined some of those for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 25. So, for lack of better terms, it's a clean audit. I do my best. I'm not an auditor, and I don't usually like to cover the reports, but I'll have to answer any questions from the board. Excuse me.
Ladies and gentlemen, questions? Questions?
I don't really have any questions. I just think that it's a testimony really to the validity of the interim statements that we get, the monthly financial statements we get, that they're believable. You know, there are no big errors in those things. Those are good numbers.
We do the best to accrue the expenses in the month that they happen. We do modified accrual-based accounting, which allows us to go back and post some things to where they should go, and we can even go back further and say, oh, you know, it stands out. I didn't catch it 2 months ago, but I caught it this month, and go back and reaccrue that. So we do modified accrual-based accounting, and I agree with you, Kevin. Grand Haven does it very well, and a testament to Vesta and their accounting team, as well as Vanessa and her team. They really have a tight control on expenses. So with that, I'll just ask for a motion to accept the fiscal year 2025 financial audit report.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Supervisor Meyer, and second by Supervisor Foley. All in favor?
Aye.
None being opposed, that motion passes unanimously. Just for the record, again, that was Supervisor Myers and Supervisor Foley on the second. Thank you. We'll take a moment to allow John to take care of that. So we just did our monthly preventative maintenance check on our emergency exit doors. Mark that one off, Vanessa. John, what's taking so long? All right, thank you, sir. You see that big red sign? Alarm will sound. I may be colorblind, I don't know. All right. All right, moving on to the next item, which is consideration of authorizing or directing staff to work on a no parking policy, towing policy. Let me pull the exhibit up. It's a weak exhibit, but it's the best I could do off of the property appraiser and trying to save money by not using the engineer. Everybody familiar with Riverfront Drive right here? It's directly across. And last night we were made aware that there are several people parking in this area that we've roped off right here, or marked off. So I'm going to open it up for discussion with the board and let John communicate his challenges with this. We know we periodically have parking issues. A lot of it has to do with multiple events happening at the same time. People use these amenities, which is great. And then we do fabulous things like trivia night, or then we have croquet, and people are gathering and getting together in groups and having fun, but we're crunched. So I don't have the answer. I don't really have an opinion as it relates to this. I'm just trying to help you have a discussion about whether or not you want to rope this off as no parking, and if so, then district council's here and can lead us through what we would need to do to get there. So why don't we start with supervisors? We'll start with Supervisor Greenwood, and then we'll just work around in an orderly fashion so that you guys aren't talking over each other. Any thoughts about it?
Yeah, I will admit I'm a criminal because I parked there last night for trivia.
John?
So I was there last night, our car was there. There isn't any other place to park, and when you hear towing, that's not a very neighborly sounding word when we're talking hot button issues. So I understand the concerns, especially by the residents, but unless we have a better option for the residents, even Chip mentioned earlier, he wasn't able to find a place to park. And it's not just in the evenings, it can be in the mornings when there's water aerobics and pickleball on tennis, especially in the winter season. So we need a parking solution. that we need to look at maybe before we start towing residents' vehicles. You know, where would these maybe 10 or 15 people cars park? Because both lots are full, and then are they gonna go down the side streets, or are you gonna walk, you know, from the golf course? That hasn't happened. I know we've tried valet parking, and that wasn't terribly successful, so we need to come up with a solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with Janet. I'd hate to see us take that away until we have another solution. But I will say, last night when we parked over at the tennis court, that parking lot really wasn't laid out very well as far as it being angled on how you park. And I would be curious to find out if anyone's ever looked at squaring off that parking lot. And I think you'd get a lot more parking spaces in there. It reminded me of parking at the supervisor of elections office whenever you really didn't know how to pull in there. And people were pulled in there all sorts of ways last night. And because it's on an angle, it's on a circle. And I think that that could be something that we could at least look at as squaring off that parking lot. It's already existing, it's a parking lot already there, but I don't think it's a parking lot that was designed very well. But back to what Janet was saying, I agree. I don't want to upset the residents that live along that area, but at the same time, I don't want to take away business from the cafe and things that other functions that we have going on as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what Kathy and Janet said. You know, there are multiple parts to this. And there are some, you know, parking across the street, there may be a few spaces over there, or there may be space over there for a few cars to park. And that in such a way that it wouldn't interfere with an emergency vehicle coming in. However, there are some places where you just cannot park there. And I think we probably know where those are. They're if you look on the picture there, they're in the northeast side of that, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. Here, where the median.
Right here where I'm at?
No, up the other way, Howard.
Over here?
Yeah, up there. Because the median and the sidewalk. Narrow. It's like there's a gauntlet there. And I was coming through last night, and there was absolutely no way that a fire truck could get through there. No way. I could get my car through, but just barely. I slowed down to nothing. So I think there's a short-term and there may be a series of short-term, I guess you'd call them solutions, but alternatives. And there's the long-term. In the short-term, in the long-term, we're all dead. In the short-term, you know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think we have to rely on management to come up with some alternatives. And some of those may have to be approved by the board, hopefully not. You just do them. I know Vanessa wants to say something.
I was just going to say, this has been a long-going issue, and I think management has offered a lot of alternative solutions, none that the board has ever agreed to permanently.
Well, some of them, let me just say this about that. Because I agree with you. And I was the recipient of a lot of those suggestions. And we've spent money, you know, looking at this and then told, no, St. John's won't let us do anything in the north lot. God only knows what restrictions there would be in the south lot. I don't disagree with Kathy that maybe there's a reconfiguration that could be done. Maybe, I don't know. However, in the short term, as these guys said, we have all this stuff going on. We have bingo, we got trivia night, we got bocce, all of it sometimes is going on at the same time. And I also understand that in the morning, it's an issue in the morning too. I don't know what you do about that. But I challenge, I think, management, John, to work with you to come up with alternative times or days to make sure there isn't as much overlap as there is. It just seems, you know, when I drive by, it seems kind of crazy when I look and I see the bocce courts overflowing with people having a great time, people playing tennis, and trivia night going on. Can't that be managed in a way where they can be spread out? We have 30 days in a month, 20, you know, X number of hours during the day. In the short term, until a better solution, a longer term solution can be put together, can't we solve for this type of a problem and for the doubling up here and for the crazy parking that goes on down there? I'm asking a question.
I can expand on that. So trivia is the third Wednesday of every month, been that way for 6 years. Mike does a great job with the bocce league. The only days available for bocce is Wednesday and Thursday because residents have it Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. And as Tom, when you try to schedule your meeting, how many days were available for the room? 1 day. It's busy here. In my report, I put every club, everything we have going on for the new supervisor to see how much is going on. So we can't move bocce to Monday because we have 60 residents that play bocce on Monday. So for those 22 weeks a year, unless we build another bocce court, if we build another bocce court, we can do bocce just on Thursday.
Well,
so we're really trying to not have the congestion.
I hear you. But what I'm also hearing is that we've done this way for 6 or 7 years. Isn't it time to say, I don't care how we've done this for 6 to 7 years. Let's put that part of it aside for a minute and let's see if there isn't a better schedule that can be put together. And not everybody is going to be happy about it, but there's a greater good here that may be achieved. That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah, we're very busy here. There is a parking problem. We know that. And it's not just a trivia. It's in the morning with the classes, when we have Tai Chi, when we have Move to Music, when they have 50 people come. And we've gapped it by 20 minutes now. We don't overlap from 9 to 10. We've left the opening there to try to decrease the parking problem.
We can look at, now that we're keeping track of this hourly data, and we can see if maybe there's some windows of opportunity, because there's the stuff we control and then there's just resident usage, right? And so we can see, but we've been looking at this for a while and trying to deconflict things. So I don't think there'll be a big win, but the data we're collecting now gives us another opportunity to revisit it.
I think that it's a very complex problem, and we've already spent a ton of money and not had a solution. So if you look at it, the problems are, one is a safety problem of parking on that street and obstructing emergency vehicles, and that's a big deal, okay? Number two, we can't do anything with this parking lot, as we've been told by St. John's management. Number three, people are going to park where they want to park, and maybe we can expand parking where the tennis courts are, but what are we going to pick up? 5 to 7 slots at the most? Even if we were to take out the median, the middle of the circle, I don't know if we pick up that many slots. I'm not sure. Those are the big things, is that people are going to park where they want to park. I don't know if they'd even go there if given the opportunity to continue to park here. And those are realistic facts. So we have to think about that. And do we want to, do we want to manage people's time at the amenities? There's only, from my perspective, there's only so much we can do with that. And we don't want to tell people you can't play tennis, you can't have community tennis at this specific time because bocce is there. We don't want to obstruct people. And I know Chip brought up the idea that has been out there for at least 5 years of turning the green space over here into a parking lot, which would break my heart. I hate to take away green space. And I think at one point, and I don't remember the outcome of it, I think we even talked about removing the island on the riverfront. Does anybody remember what the outcome of that was?
Vanessa may, I don't remember it.
There was Scott may remember, Vanessa may remember. I think there was a reluctance on the part of the engineer to go ahead with something like that. Am I right about that?
I don't remember ever talking seriously about moving it. I think it was an idea that was thrown out there to David Sowell, and I don't remember what his response was.
Maybe Chip does.
Well, here,
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
So that we don't litigate it today? Give me 30 days to think about some things and talk to staff, get re-familiar with the parking issue. Allow us to, maybe make it 60 days. That way we're not coming back in August. But in the meantime, I think, John, you can take a look at any opportunities you can find on your side. I'd be comfortable if we could find a way to, over here, John,
What?
yeah, Matt, do this area to keep them coming off in that area and don't allow anybody to park here.
Well, I think up by the stop sign, you're fine. It's back by the tree.
It's further back, yes.
I'll tell you, that's my fault. I forgot to check with the facilitator last night. I got busy
I'm
talking.
punching you in the face for that.
I'm gonna have at the podium for the facilitators a monthly calendar of the days it has to be blocked off back by the trees, coned off. By the stop sign, you can fit about 5 or 6 cars by the stop sign. But once you get around that bend, that's when it gets narrow. And we'll make sure going forward, those are coned off. I'll make sure that, I forgot last night to double check with them, and then when I saw the picture, I talked to the facilitator. That's on me, but we'll take measures and to make sure that it gets blocked off. And I'll sit down with Brittany and see if we can juggle the schedule around.
All right, so we'll create a temporary solution with the intent to find a long-term, we'll give you options. I don't think we need a fact-finding group on this. We really honestly I need to get re-familiar with Vanessa on this topic. I have thoughts in my head, and like I said, rather than us spend another 30 minutes litigating that, I think this is part of Kevin, what you and I spoke about in my office yesterday. There's going to be a new board member eventually sitting in your seat, and we're going to miss you when you go, but we have a brand new board. And Kevin had a great idea, which was we need to bring everybody together and start looking at that 10-year plan again. And just what's the IRP call out? What are some of the amenities you may want to look at? How do you fund those? That's a long discussion. We all went through that. It was like a 6-month discussion when we did it the last time. This might be part of that discussion. So short term, I think we've outlined what we can do and tolerate without limiting access to the amenities. John will look at options going off the back end so that at least EMS can get through. And then give me 60 days and let me talk to staff and we'll give you an update. Then we may have to have the engineer here too. Is that okay?
Yep, that's good.
Supervisor Myers.
Just 2 comments. I know you mentioned one time that you used to have someone that would transport people from the parking lot and that didn't work out, or people weren't utilizing it?
People weren't utilizing it.
They were also still parking on Riverfront Drive, and the shuttle was having problems getting through. So I think if you want the shuttle, you have to enforce no parking in that area prior
to doing it.
Yeah.
And then my second comment, maybe in a 10-year plan for the parking, instead of going out, maybe you could look at going up with a 2nd-story parking.
Madam Chair, do you want to take any public comment? I see your hand.
Sure.
It's up to you. You're the chair.
30 seconds, Tom.
30 seconds, Mr. Byrne.
I would recommend carpooling. Linda and I are neighbors. We could have come here together.
Tom, that's a great recommendation, but you can't make people do that.
But you can encourage them to do that.
You step up to the mic, sir.
We can, but I don't think it's going to get past that. I mean, people are, like I said, people are going to park where they want to park right now.
And my wife and our neighbor.
You're a good person, you do the right thing, but you can't make everybody do that.
Instill that into everyone. Be a good person. Grab your neighbor and go and come in a carpool rather than two cars.
Wait, I like the suggestion. If anybody else has suggestions, I'm open. I have open door. Come to me. Send them by email. Again, Tom, thank you, but I don't think the board wants to litigate this and try to find the answer now.
I like Denise's idea.
She didn't say anything.
No.
All right, send me any input you have. I have open door policy. You have mine. It's howard@cddmanagers.com. howard@cddmanagers.com. All right, we can move on. Going to the discussion topics, resident appreciation night in town hall. So I don't have a lot of pride, but I am really proud that I started resident appreciation night in 2008 when I took over in John's role back that far. It came at a really good time where we just needed to work on the relationship between the board, the staff, and the residents. That's why I call it resident appreciation night. I'm glad to know that John's been carrying that out, and other managers after I left have been carrying that out. John was in the office yesterday. We had a very good discussion about this topic, and we don't want free-for-alls. We joked about people bringing Tupperware and loading up and going home. When you say free, everybody's there, right? But we still want to have a classy event. We want to just kind of want to suck the air out of the room, all the bad air out of the room, and have a town hall with some hors d'oeuvres and maybe some refreshments. You can pay for your alcohol because I don't want to be responsible for being here to talk and then have residents drinking for free. So my thought on this is, and this is an initiative I'm starting here. It's going to launch here, and I'm going to take it into my other districts, and that is a town hall roundtable style communication. I want to thank Supervisor Myers for poking the bear on this one when she met with me in my office. Great recommendation. So what I'm proposing is to have the hot button issues. I'll use Janet Greenwood's topics there, Supervisor Greenwood. So we have some hot button topics. We'll have a state of the district. We'll talk about some of the initiatives that the board is undertaking. I'll come down, I'll speak for 15 to 20 minutes, maybe do another 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A, like open roundtable, very informal. Let's have a good time. Let's talk about all the great things that are happening. There's been a lot of transition since I left and came back. We have great management, great things happening, new board members, and a lot of good plans for the future and a lot of things to celebrate. So if you're okay with that, I'm willing to put in and have some elbow grease and get involved and come down here and do a roundtable. We would have to follow the script that district council lays out because I imagine board members would attend, so we would just kind of notice that. But it would not be supervisor-led. It would not really be anybody else's endeavor but mine. So I would create the format for that, and I would lead that discussion. And the intent and purpose of this, my objective, is to improve resident relations, improve communications, and outline all the good things that are happening at Grand Haven on an annual basis. So if you're okay with that, I'll work with John and we'll get that going.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I'm glad you received that well. So John, we'll work on that. Okay. All right, we'll go on to the next item, pending supervisor-led project. Supervisor Foley already went over the utility threat group. They'll be presenting that final report in September. I've spoken with Dr. Davidson earlier this morning, so I think we'll be wrapping that up. And then district staff will put together, similar to the Connect group, we'll put together recommendations, but you have to give us some time, so.
Not recommendations.
No, staff will.
Oh.
So we'll use that report to come up with, similar to what we're doing with the Connect Groups report. Staff will look at it, come back to the board with recommendations. Any other supervisor-led projects I'm missing? We've done good. We're down to 2. Yeah? All right. Next item, supervisor requests. Dr. Merrill.
Yes. I think this is a great opportunity with some of the
Microphone.
great opportunity with some of the new members we have on the board, and I would like to appoint a HOA liaison. This would be a person that attends the HOA meetings, kind of like Mike Tavano does, and helps us have a better communication with the HOA, which will benefit us and all the residents of Grand Haven. And since I've already given Janet a responsibility, I'd like to ask Kathy Myers to do that.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, perfect.
We don't need a formal motion. This is just, or do we?
I know.
No? Okay. Congratulations, or my condolences, one or the other.
I'll let you know.
And then you'll give us just you'll relay anything important that you think we should know regarding the meeting. Okay? Thank you.
Do all that work for $200 a month, Kathy. That's great. Thank you. We appreciate that effort, though. I think it's a great opportunity. Again, better communications.
Yep.
Anything else, Dr. Merrill?
No, that's it.
All right. Supervisor Foley?
Good, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Myers?
I don't have anything other than to just thank you, Vanessa and John, for spending the time with me. And John really has clarified a lot. I learned a lot from him on everything that goes on here. He is such a hard worker, him and his staff. And Vanessa, she's been wonderful, has spent some time with me. There's not a question I've asked her she didn't know the answer to. And of course, you, Matt. But the only thing I could complain about is John, his trivia questions are a little hard. But other than that, I just have really enjoyed working with all of you. And we're so lucky to have each of you, and I thank you.
That's wrong. All right. Supervisor Greenwood?
No, I second everything that Kathy has said. It's been a pleasure getting to know everybody better and learning more about the operations behind the scenes that not everybody sees, and appreciate the hard work. And I just, in the guise of appointing someone to go to the HOA, I think we really need to work on our relationships, even with the golf course, because it's one community, one team. And some of the problems are bigger than just us, so I'd like to focus on that going forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I can't I'd love to type, but I've given up my computer. So the next meeting will be August 20th at 3 p.m. This is our budget public hearing, which I think it starts at 5. So we'll have a regular meeting at 3. We'll get through most of those agenda items. We'll see if we can shift some of the September stuff, maybe the lighter weight stuff, up into August. We'll probably need to leave a good portion amount of time for Vanessa and Louise, maybe. Are we going to discuss the landscape enhancement projects for next year?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll focus that. We'll eat up some time there, so that'll be good. And then we'll have the public hearing at 5. So Supervisor Greenwood, will you be here?
I will not be here. I will be in Europe.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm a little jealous, but okay. Supervisor Myers?
I'll be here too.
Okay. And Dr. Merrill?
I will be here. It starts at 3, public is 5, right?
That's correct. And Supervisor Foley, you'll be here. Okay, good. Be safe, Janet. We wish you the best over there. Take lots of photos for us. Dr. Merrill, we're coming to an adjournment. Is there any last comments you'd like to make? We're almost at a record. It's 11:01. We're adjourning the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Supervisor Foley, second by Dr. Merrill. All in favor? All right, motion passes 4-0. Time is 11:02 p.m. Thank you. Or a.m., excuse me, a.m.
I didn't want to ask you
on the road bike because really I didn't have. So did I understand? I don't park at all. We're saying we're going to get 60 more days. We got to do some more. That area, you're not seeing those parks, people will park there and nothing will happen. Is that what you're saying right now? One of the quick things, don't forget the